All right, everyone. Hello. Today we have another deck profile video featuring Abdul Muqsit again. But this time today we actually have his Frieza swap deck that he piloted at the Zenkai Cup during Gencon. So this was during the second day. This was on Sunday. This was in person at Gencon. And how'd you do with this deck?
I got third place. I did really well. I got all the way to the finals and then ended up losing to Brian Samuel's Green Gohan.
Yeah, that was a tough match. We all saw it there. I think it was streamed live as well. So talk to me about this deck. How do you feel about bringing Frieza Swap into the Zenkai format for this event?
So I didn't want to play Trunk Vegeta. I played Trunk Vegeta the day before. I wanted to play something a lot more fun, a lot more different than what I've been playing for the past year. So Frieza Swap is brand new, just came out from the newest set, and it's a yellow deck. So I automatically liked it just because I always love playing yellow. Mm-hmm. And it has some really cool stuff that it could do. Also, I love the swap mechanic. It's when I first started playing the game, it was one of the decks I had first played was Goku Lineage Swap. So then this deck just reminded me of that, and then mixed that, but with all the other stuff that came out with the archetype and all the other good yellow stuff Bandai has, and it just made me want to play this deck. So I started off with the leader. Front side of the leader is pretty simple. You look at top 5 for Frieza with swap. Actually, no, any Frieza you want. That includes Riposte, which is really nice. And then you can awaken when you have 2 or more energy, and you just activate swap. So that's almost guaranteed every like turn 2. Very easy in this deck. Very consistent to swap. Also, both sides of the leader reduce the swap cards by 1 yellow. So certain swaps are even free. On the back side, you draw a card for swapping, so you don't have to interact. You don't have to swing at your opponent's leader to draw. And then the second effect is once per turn. You look at the top 3 when swinging with the Frieza army with swap 3 or more. You look at the top 3 for Frieza's army and combo with it. So it could be a 5k, it could be a 110k. You could just combo with it. And then the other ones you put at the bottom. That effect is pretty nice. And then it has a Z leader too. We'll get into that when we go into the Z deck. But first, I'll start off with the 1-drop. Since it's a swap deck, it's gonna slowly increase in cost. So first we start with the 1-drop. This is your turn 1 play. This 1-drop is really strong because it has deflect and barrier, so your opponent will almost never be able to interrupt this card. And it lets you choose one of your Frieza's 5 or less with swap, I think. No, just any. Yeah, you may add one other person. Yeah, actually, yeah, just any Frieza with swap. So I think that's only 5 or less. I don't think there's any other Frieza with swap higher than that. You can add it to your hand from your Z energy and then just replace it. It's really nice because you can also pitch dead extra cards or any other dead cards into your Z energy, and you're replacing it with cards that are comboable, and your leader put it there from the deck. So this card is really nice for fixing your hand, finding your swaps. After 1, it swaps into 3 for free thanks to the leader. So we have this one, these 2, and these 3. So this one.
And which one do you rather go into?
So it's dependent. This one is probably the worst. It's really just the third target because all these guys have limit 1s on their auto. So if you ever swap more than one third time, you can use this guy. This guy does the same thing as the leader. He combos from the top 3. So sometimes you're able to get 2 combos off, generate 2 Z energy. These 2 are the best. This one is the TP. This one looks for any Frieza from your top 5, including Robotic Riposte, which is really strong. And then you put 1 card from your hand on the top of your deck. That synergizes with your leader because the card you're putting on top of the deck is the one you're just going to combo when you swing with this guy. Gotcha. So this guy's really strong. I only ran 2 because I only have 2. I probably bump it up to 3 and take the other guy out. Okay. This one is probably the strongest just because it's removal. It switches any battle card to rest, and then if the battle card is 4 or less, it KOs it. This is really strong in a yellow deck because the yellow deck sometimes struggle against cards in active mode. So this guy is just not only resting the guy in active mode, but he's also KOing it if they're 4 or less. This card is incredibly strong against decks like Android 21. They play their Z battle card, you just get rid of it. And it technically costs 1 energy. You play 1-drop for 1 and swap to 3 for free.
Okay.
After 3, you're going into 5. This costs 1 energy thanks to your leader. So we run this. 4 of these, and then 3 of these. So this guy, I'll start off with this guy first. He's a 20. He gains double strike when he's played if you have 3 or more energy, and then he can't be removed by skills until the end of your opponent's next turn. This guy's just a good finisher. Also, I think, also he rests the battle card, ignoring barrier in a rest mode. Not a big deal because this guy usually rests the guy you're going to switch. This guy usually rests the card you want to switch to rest mode. This guy ignores barrier, but Usually with your 5-drop, you want to KO or play this guy. This guy has barrier blocker, which is really strong because he's defense, but he's also hard to get rid of because he's barrier. He also gains dual attack, so if you have 3 or more, you can play this guy, swing with him, and then just leave him up for the barrier blocker next turn. And then he's similar to the 3-drop Trunks in Trunks Cheetah, where the first battle card, he won't rest it, he'll just negate its skills. So it does choose, so it doesn't get around barrier, but it's still really strong, this card. And you can just spam these, they don't have unique, so like every turn I pretty much always just played one, and you just have like 3 or 4 out on your board, and then when your opponent's out of floodgates or you have the answer to their floodgates, you can push immensely hard.
Okay.
And then this guy's probably like the best card in the deck. I should probably be running 4. The only reason I don't is because too many Frieza, like you pretty much see it, you don't really need more than what's in the deck, but I mean 4 won't hurt, I guess. This card is really strong because this guy also restarts your chain. So if your chain ever gets interrupted, you can tap 2 to play this guy from the Z energy, and you already have a 5-drop on board now. So you can go into 8 really easily. And then he KOs, draws a card, ignoring barrier, KOs one in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and draws a card, yeah. And then his activate main is you get rid of him from the game, and you can play a 2-drop Son Goku or 2-drop Frieza from your hand or drop. 2-drop or less. So this guy can restart the chain too. So you can play him from your Z energy or just swap into him, draw the card, swing 20k, then remove him from game, play a 1-drop and start going up the chain again, and probably go into this guy because he's going to stick. He's not going to stick.
Now, do you find yourself playing him more with swap or more with his effect?
I play him more with his effect. With swap, I'm usually just playing this guy for 5.
Okay.
But this guy's really nice because I'll play him for 2, swing with him, I'll draw a card, swing with him, get rid of him, play the 1-drop. Sometimes I'll combo 1-drop if I don't have one and drop. So he's swinging for 25. Play that 1-drop I comboed with, and then go up the chain into 5. And then just have this guy swing, and then keep him up for defense.
Sounds good.
Then we go into the boss card. That's the 8-drop. So this card is 30 dual double, and KOs the board ignoring barrier and rest mode. So that's really strong. And then his second effect is also when he's removed, he goes into the Z energy, which is synergistic with the second effect, which is you remove him from the your Z energy from the game, as well as the top 5 cards of your deck, and you can play a 1-drop from your hand. So that lets you basically a free way to start your chain. You do need 2 or more energy, and it's a little risky because you are warping top 5 cards of your deck. You can warp super combos, secret rares. So this guy's usually, that effect is usually good when you're trying to end the game out, or if your opponent doesn't have floodgates and you're trying to be as aggressive as possible, because this deck is able to be super aggressive and super defensive at the same time. Thanks to swap, just always giving you cheap bodies to play, cheap cards to swing with. This guy technically costs 4 to swap into, but your Z leader will reduce it down to 1 energy. So when you Z awaken, you can essentially go from 5 to 8 just for 1 energy.
And all the rounds you played, how often did you actually bring this guy out?
I bought him almost once every game. It pretty much just helped me clean out the game. If not, I would just clear their board. So I pretty much played him almost every game. Sometimes I played more than 1, but most of the time it was just 1.
Pretty cool.
That's why we only run 3s. He has a 110k, but it's cool because your leader can combo him from the top deck, so you can combo for 10. This card is great. It's like Successor of Hope. It just lets you search for any Frieza with swap, 5 or less, I think.
And it's free.
It's free, yeah, it's free. It's extra card, so it fuels Robotic Riposte. And then the second effect is really nice. If you have 4 or less life, you can give any of your Frieza cards 5k. So you can give the dual attacker 5k to swing 25 twice, or you can give your your leader 5k to bean yourself up on defense. Also, if your leader, it also counts if your leader is a yellow Frieza Z leader. So your Z leader is 20k base. With this, it becomes a 25k base. Really hard for your opponent to push through that.
Nice.
Next, we'll just go through the super combo and secret rare just to get it out of the way. Piccolo Gohan, very strong secret rare with the double strike 8-drop. You just throw it in. This deck doesn't have a lot of double strikes, so Piccolo isn't always the best. Yeah. But we do run our own versions of double strikes.
I feel like you need it anyways.
Yeah.
Piccolo is just so
It's
good.
just really strong in this deck. The only weakness in this deck sometimes is this deck finds everything but the non-Frieza cards. So sometimes finding these guys is hard, especially if you look at the top 3, you have to bottom deck him. Important thing to do is keep this guy in hand. If you find your secret rare, you find your super combos and it's the top 3 and you have to bottom deck him, use this guy to look through your deck and shuffle it and find a Frieza army. You don't
Sounds
want
good.
these guys in the
Yeah.
bottom of your deck.
Makes sense. You just gotta sequence it right.
Yep. Now we'll go into the Floodgates, Vegito, and 4 Riposte. Riposte is pretty self-explanatory. You have tons of extra cards. It's a Frieza, so it's very, very synergistic with the deck. It's searchable off your front side leader, off the 3-drop swap. So this card is just amazing. Vegito is really nice in this deck because you're always going to have 2 Z energy by like turn 2 or 3. Actually, by like turn 3. Sometimes even turn 2 if you combo a card. Very easy to generate Z energy in this deck. Very easy to play Z battle cards in this deck. So Vegito's second effect of negating strike skills is usually active when you play him. This guy could, if we get into an aggressive format, he could easily just go up to 4. But right now, the format's not too aggressive. Some decks just aren't swinging that fast. So Robotic's usually enough for those decks.
Okay. And if you're a Z leader, you get even more value.
Yeah, you can negate the strike skills as well. And he's a blocker as well. Going to Sin Shenron, the 4-drop. This card's pretty much a staple in all yellow decks. Your deck is nice. Once again, Sin does count Z energy as well for the 7. So you can play him pretty much turn 3 as well because your deck generates a lot of Z energy. As well as a board, you're going pretty wide sometimes with all your swap guys. So 7 is not very hard to get in this deck, but this deck can be a little energy hungry, so 2 is a fine number. You're only going to resolve this once a game, not even. There are a lot of games I went without even playing this. I would just charge both. Just because the engine itself, the Frieza swap cards are usually sometimes just...
What do you do in against the yellow deck where they play their Sin and then negate the swap skills of your chain? How do you
I try to set up 2 chains against those. Also, against those decks, I decided to Final Flash. This guy is really annoying. The other 5-drop that switches a card of barrier to rest mode isn't that great against him because they can, if you switch him to rest mode, he can just restand. But if he ever switches to rest mode to block an attack, you can punish him with the 5-drop, and you can from your Z energy, you can just tap 2, play it, and kill this guy. So they can almost never leave this guy in rest. He always has to be inactive. So that in itself is usually nice.
Okay.
We run 2 Swift Retaliation Cooler just to finish games.
Yep.
Push, especially with Gohan. If you have the 8-drop, you can tap 1 Z Awaken, tap 1, swap your 5-drop that's been sitting on board into the 8-drop. Swing for 30 double and Cooler. Back that up with Cooler. Really strong. And then the other guy we can back up with Cooler is here. Mira as well. We run 1 Mira as our overwhelm. Removal is not a big problem with this deck. This deck has a lot of removal, so I don't really feel like I need Secret ID or the Vegeta.
Yeah.
So
Heated Fighting Spirit.
Yeah. So this deck, like I said, does struggle. It doesn't have double strikers. It doesn't have the best finishers. Its finishers are very predictable. This guy is a little unpredictable sometimes.
You still get off the Oolong Mira combo?
Yeah. Oolong is still a thing too. So it's very unpredictable. This guy, Oolong, Picklehan, is just incredibly strong.
Okay.
Now we're just going to go into the extra cards. Frieza Army, pretty simple. Just token negate. Run the Time Magic as well for when your opponent has Koitsukai Life. And these guys aren't that good. 1 T-Blow, 1 Bloodlust, amazing card. This card basically says you can't play Cooler Seeker Rare on me.
It's always a good thing.
Yep. Meta Cooler is pretty mediocre. This guy didn't perform that well just because when I Z Awaken, I usually win the game. If I don't win the game, I just don't see him. Post Vegito.
You side him out a lot?
Yeah, I sided him out a lot, or if I did keep him in, he just never came up because the defense in this deck is usually enough. You have barrier blockers, you have Riposte, Power Super Saiyan Limited 1-of, and these 2 are more aggressive 1-ofs. They have double strike, both of them. This guy is free off the 5-drop, so you can play the 5-drop, swap into it, swing with it, and then remove him for this guy, take a life, and swing 20 double strike, 20 dual attack. This guy's a 30 double strike, really strong for closing out games. Like I said, this deck doesn't have the best double strikers, so these guys are really important.
Yeah, I feel like Majin Buu is a staple for this deck.
Majin Buu feels like Champa.
Let's go into the Z deck real quick, and then we'll go into the side deck.
Yep, Z deck, we're running 2 Z leaders. Z leader is really strong.
2 Z leaders, okay.
Yeah, we're running 2 just in case, because this one, when you play the Z leader, it just like the movie, he'll fade out back into Frieza at the end of your opponent's turn. Gotcha. So the Z leader is really strong because when you swing with the 5 or higher Frieza army, you get to look at the top 3 and it's not once per turn. So you can swing with the dual attacker, swap into the 8-drop, swing. You're just like comboing insanely high. You're swinging insanely fast, and he also draws a card when he's played. So that's a straight up plus.
Yeah, and he's 20k.
Yeah. Sorbet is a Z stack you put under him. If your opponent plays a battle card, With the skill, you can it's 7 or less. You can play this guy rested, and then look at the top 5 for the extra card.
Okay.
Pretty nice. You do have to discard a card if you use that. Oolong, you just
Oolong's
copy.
pretty good, yeah.
Pretty much copying Picklehan, copying Mira, copying Majin Buu for game. Defender is really nice. You have a lot of Z energy in this deck. Z energy is never a problem, so his effect is always live. Tagoma's, instead of surmounting, we run Tagoma. It's a self-awakener in this deck. Pretty much it takes a life.
Yeah, it's an archetype. It fits
it's
the
an
chain,
archetype, and it recycles your 1-drops from the drop.
Okay.
And then this guy is really nice because, like I said, 3 Z energy is not a problem in this deck. You have tons of Z energy, and then he's good pressure. He's also good board clear. So, like I said, this deck does have a lot of board clearance, but this guy is just in case they go super wide and you can't play your 8-drop.
Okay.
Into the Z deck. Koitsukai, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
This deck can be pretty aggressive, so Koitsukai's pretty nice. Black Smoke, like I said, this deck can also be defensive. You can stall games out. Black Smoke helps that. Final Flash, I'd probably bump this up to 2. I'd take out one of these. I run Black Kamehameha. This card was way better than this.
In this meta, yeah.
Yeah. 1 extra T-Blow for those defensive decks, yellow, blue.
Right.
And then you pretty much have these guys. All for Green Gohan, really. Hunter the Demon God to stop their Floodgate. Mutaido, and then Gohan for the hand destruction. And then Nimbus for aggro, like Trunks Zeno, but also for Green Gohan. Anything, if they use their Koitsukai, you have Nimbus to back up.
And your only loss for the day was against Green Gohan, so how do you feel about that matchup?
That matchup is not too bad if you go first, but it's pretty tough if you go second. It's really a dice roll, but the big thing is you just need to find your super combos, you need to find your secret rare. You can't really make your deck can't fail you. You can't whiff too many times off of stuff. And
just win the die roll.
Yeah,
fine.
And you need to see your cards on your side, right?
Yeah,
I lost.
Really
I didn't see Mutaido. I didn't see.
It was in your life. You crit it.
Yeah, it was the first life I crit. I didn't see Secret Rare that game, so it can be a little hard that matchup.
Yeah.
But other than that, this deck feels really nice in this meta. It honestly deals really well with other yellow decks.
Because you played against Legends and his Golden Frieza in the Zenkai Cup. How was that matchup for you?
I honestly think this deck can do pretty good against Golden Frieza because you don't have to swing to draw. So you can build your board the way you like and then start committing to swing.
Right. Both of you don't have to swing to draw, but the great thing is you having easier time building a board. They really have a tougher time building a board.
Yeah, especially the 5-drop barrier blocker. I just spammed him out.
Yeah, they really don't have an answer for that until they get to Cooler.
Yeah.
And you have the Bloodlust for Cooler, so on paper it seems like a very, very viable matchup for you.
Yeah, it really just depends on the end game in that matchup.
And how's a red matchup for you?
Red is, honestly, red in general doesn't feel scary. I did play a Pan in the tournament too. It wasn't that bad. You have Riposte, you have Vegito. Vegito's really nice because of the strike skills. And then you have a barrier blocker.
And then last but not least, the 21 matchup, because Blue 21 seems to be everywhere now. Whether it's Expert, whether it's New 21, Token 21, it's all there.
This deck isn't too bad against 21, especially if you go first. Because of this guy, he KOs 4 or less inactive. He switches it and then KOs it. So it's really good against your Z battle cards. But this deck can lose if you overcommit against the Secret Rare. The Secret Rare is really annoying because it wipes your board, it restarts your chain. But other than that, that matchup is not too bad. You have big board clearances. You have barrier removal. You have a lot of removal in general. If they get their board too wide, you can play your 8-drop, clear it. It just can be a little hard pushing for game. And like I said, the Secret Rare, especially since you have Bloodlust for their
It's nice to know that there's still a Golden Frieza deck out there that you can play if set one Golden Frieza gets set. All right.
This deck is great.
Thank you so much for the deck profile. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you guys for subscribing, and please stay tuned for more deck profile videos like these. Thank you to Abdul. Shout out to you. Congrats on your top. Good luck, and stay tuned for the next one. Bye, guys.